Hello everyone, my name is John Lewis and I'm a mentor here at ZDV, and I will be walking you through how to set up VRC as well as logging onto the network so you can observe, and finally getting you into Sweatbox. So first off, we're going to be downloading VRC. We're going to just Google this by downloading VRC, and then we're going to click on the top one and we're going to download the top one. Once that is done, you can go ahead and run the setup and install it. The default settings should be fine, and then we're going to go ahead and download audio for VATSIM. So you can just Google audio for VATSIM. Should be this top link. Make sure it is the VATSIM website, so audio.vatsim.net, and then we're going to go ahead and click on update my software. Over here on the ATC side, we're going to find our client that we're using, so we're using VRC, so we're going to click on that, and then click on the blue hyperlink in order to get the download. You're going to go ahead and run that same as you did VRC, and then once those two are installed, we can download our final documents. Those documents are going to be on our website, so denarctic.org, and then you can go to controllers and documents. This is where our updates will be, so we could find any updates to the documents that we'll be downloading under this VRC tab. So first off, we're going to be downloading the sector file, so ZDV combined sector and then whatever AirAC is current. I'm going to save these to a folder called VRC downloads just so I don't forget them. We're also going to download the ZDV alias as well as the POF. The last thing we're going to be getting is the myservice.txt, so we're going to download that. Once all of those files are downloaded, then we are good. You go ahead and X out of this, and we're going to open up our file explorer. On the side, we should see a documents tab, and there should be a VRC folder inside of it, so you can go ahead and open that up. And our files that we just downloaded, we're going to open up the myservice.txt, and we're just going to drag and drop that into the documents VRC folder. Once that is done, we can go ahead and close out of this. So now we're going to open up VRC. The thing that pops up is called our session profile selector. So this is where we have all of our profiles that we created, so we don't have to keep setting up a new one every time. So right now you should only see default. I also have a Centennial ground profile set up right now, but you will not see that. So go ahead and open up default. It should pop up a box something like this. If yours most likely will not be white, however, if it is, you could go to settings, color profile, and then select the default color profile. I'm going to go with TCW for now though, because I do not have default. So next up, first thing we want to do is we want to load up the sector file. So file, open sector. We're going to go to the downloads we just did and open that up. Our sector file is our map, so it shows us all of the aircraft diagrams, the airports, as well as a bunch of other markings that we will be using. So next we're going to be opening up our alias and POF. So you can go ahead and select the alias, POF, and then we are good for importing things. So the alias is basically our document that has a bunch of shortcuts. So for example, if we have a text-only pilot, instead of having to type off runway blank clear for takeoff and then the winds, we can just do .cto and it types this out for us. The POF file will have all of our squawk codes and other things that each facility has. So for example, if you're at Centennial Airport, it will assign squawk codes between these two different numbers. So in our hotkeys tab, if you do have a number pad on your keyboard, I would recommend keeping this as number pad plus. If you don't, you can set it to whatever is comfortable with you. You will be using this key a lot though. So under our airspace, we're going to switch this down to 20 nautical miles. This is what the VATSIM COC allows ground controllers to have, is up to 20 nautical miles visibility. And that basically says wherever we're zoomed in on the center of our screen, we can see aircraft within 20 nautical miles of that point. So in our arrival and departure fields, we're going to be setting up Centennial. So we're going to put up KAPA, and then we could head over to flight strips. So we're going to do auto add departure strip and delete strip when pushed manually. Finally, conflict alerts tab, we could change this top one down to 3 and then apply OK. So we're going to zoom in and find Centennial first. So Denver International Airport is right in the center. could zoom in by using your scroll wheel, and you can move around by holding right click and dragging. So we have Denver, right below that we have Buckley, and then we have Centennial below that. So we can go ahead and zoom in nice and big on Centennial. Alright, so now that we are zoomed in nice on Centennial, we're going to set up our rest of our screen in our pop-ups. So under settings, our radar mode, we're going to select that to ground. And our color profile, you could do whatever one you like the best. For view, everything is fine except we're going to add static text. Static text is what gives us our runway numbers as well as taxiways and FBOs. Under tools, we're going to be opening up everything except for the SoCal panel. Flight strips, aircraft, comms, weather, and incoming chat log. So everything should be checked except SoCal, and we're going to be organizing a screen. I'll show you how I do mine. You can do whatever one fits you the best. You could also resize things by clicking and dragging. And you can move them around by dragging the top. So this is normally how I have my screen set up, and we will be going through all of these and what each individual one does soon. So first off, we're going to be setting up our communications tab. So position name will be APA ground. So APA underscore ground, because we are setting up Centennial ground right now. So APA underscore GND. The frequency will be 121.800. The Vox server and Vox channel we can leave blank. So then we're going to click Save Changes. So communications, this is how we prime up on the network. So let's say we log on to the network, ready to control. We're observing, we see what's happening, and then we're ready for PAS to talk to us. Once we're ready for PAS to talk to us, we click prime, and then that changes our frequency to the correct one, and we'll be able to communicate with them. Next up, everything else will be on the network with traffic. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to log on to the live network in order for you to observe. So if you go to File and Connect, you have your call sign box. So when you're observing, your call sign will be ZDV underscore your operating initials. So these will most likely be your first initial, last initial. However, they might be different, so go ahead and check out the ZDV roster in order to see that on our website. So ZDV underscore operating initials underscore OBS. Real name, that follows to that some COC, so fill in your real name. Your facility, you're going to be observing, and your rating, you are an observer right now. Your CID, 1476059, that is mine. This will be the CID that you get assigned whenever you join that sim. So go ahead and fill in your CID, and then your password. So same one, same, that matches your CID. Your server will be whatever one is closest to you. I will be using USA West. So now that we have everything filled out and everything looks good, we're going to click connect. We get a welcome message down here which shows us that everything is filled out, our login details are correct, and stuff starts to pop up. So that is good. So the very first hotkey I'm going to teach you is F2. So F2 is weather. So F2 and then type in the 4-letter iCal code. So F2 KAPA and then enter. That brings it up here. So we have our wind and our altimeter. And if we click on that, it toggles the full METAR. In our weather panel, it also brings it up here. And if we want to get rid of it, we go to our weather panel, we right click it and click remove station. Since it is up here, I do not control if my weather panel open. Next up is our controllers in chat. As we can see, Los Angeles Center is online, and we see their frequency. If we need to send them a message, then we can double click on them and it opens up a private message with them. Any messages that anyone sends you will be in here in your incoming chat log. And if a pilot sends you a message, it'll light up their name blue over here under controllers in chat. So you can just double click on it to open it. Arrivals and departures field as well as flight strip A we will see with whenever we log on to Sweatbox. So that is how you log onto the network to observe. We can see what's happening around. As we can see, there's a couple planes on Denver right now. And other than that, there's not much else to that. So we're going to go ahead and disconnect. And now that our screen is set up how we like it with weather, we're going to go ahead and save the session profile. So file, save session profile as, I'm gonna name it APA underscore GND, and then OK. So now, whenever we open up VRC, APA GND is there already, so we could just double click on it, and it already brings up our session, so we don't have to set it up every time. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you how to log on to Sweatbox. Sweatbox is our environment which we use in order to simulate planes. So we could simulate certain scenarios or anything just in order to get enough practice so we get good at it. So file connect. So for your first session, we're going to say you're going to be controlling Centennial Ground. So your call sign is going to be APA underscore GND. Your facility, you're going to be controlling ground, so go ahead and select that. Your rating stays the same, you're still an observer. Your CID and password, and then server, you're going to select Sweatbox. Once all that's filled out, you click connect, and then we could see the aircraft on the ground. So I have a file loaded up in Sweatbox, so this is what it looks like, and we're going to go through the remaining tabs as well as how to select an aircraft. So in our arrivals and departures field, we have all of the aircraft who have a filed flight plan into or out of our selected airport. How we choose a selected airport is back up here in settings in general, under our airspace tab in our arrival and departure fields. So if it has an aircraft in or out of either of those, then it will put it in this thing. So if we want to set up a Springs profile, we're going to zoom out, go over to Springs, and then change these two fields to KCOS. We're also going to be getting our frequency in Colorado Springs ground set up over there. So for Centennial, we're going to see our flight plans down here. We'll go through each box and what they mean later, but for now we're going to go ahead and zoom in on the aircraft and see what we can see. So right now we see his call sign, so November 2, 3, 1, 9, or 4. Below that we have SR22, that is our aircraft type. And then this blinking thing, that the 00 is his current ground speed. And then code is just showing that he is squawking a duplicate code, so someone else is squawking the same thing as him. So November 2, 3, 1, 9, or 4 is a SR22, and he is not moving right now. Executive 1736 is a Learjet 45, and he is also not moving right now. So what can we do with these aircraft? We need to first select an aircraft that we're talking about. A couple ways to select an aircraft will be we can zoom in on them, if we could find their call sign, and click. We're going to be clicking the little icon next to them. So you just zoom in on them and click, and as you can see it lights them up as well as puts their call sign in the bottom left. That means that aircraft is currently selected, and then from there we can go ahead and open up their flight plan or do whatever else we please. Let's say it's really busy and we can't see their call sign, or there's too many in order to search. So let's say November 145 Papa Charlie calls us. So in this chat bar, we could go ahead and type November 145 Papa Charlie. And then we're going to click our aircraft select key. So for me that is the plus. So as we could see, it lights him up and it puts his call sign there, so it automatically finds him. So that is really helpful for events when it is extremely busy. So another one we have is a Lime 12, so LYM12, plus it finds him, puts his aircraft, his call sign there. So now that we have an aircraft selected by either clicking or by searching, we can now open up their flight plan. So your second hotkey you're going to learn is F6, that is open flight plan. So while the aircraft is selected, do F6 and then your aircraft select key, and that opens up their flight plan. So we could select him and open up his flight plan. So in his flight plan, we have their call sign, their departure airport, and their cruise altitude. We have their aircraft type and their arrival airport. Their scratch pad is mental notes for controllers. So if this guy has a certain request, like he wants flight following, we could just put FF there and then click amend plan. Amend plan is our save changes button. And then for the next controller, he will see that flight following is in there. So that is from controller to controller. So next up, we have his route. His route will be what he files. So he's taking the Pikes 2 departure, and then remarks. Sometimes pilots will have a bunch of numbers in their remarks. You could just ignore those. Sometimes if they have the weird call sign, they might say their call sign in the remarks. So they might say call sign equals FlexJet. Next up, in the flight rules, we have IFR, VFR, special VFR, as well as defensive VFR. If they file an alternate, it will be there, as well as their assigned squawk code. So, let's say he calls up and we need to assign a squawk, we can just click the assign squawk button. If for some reason the assign squawk button is grayed out, that is just because you made a change and didn't amend the plan yet, so you can go ahead and click amend plan and then you can assign the squawk. So, next up, we're going to be going over to the flight strip bay, which shows the exact same information. So here we have the call sign, the aircraft type, his strip number. You don't need to worry about strip number, that's just for real world controllers. We have their flight rules, so this guy is going IFR. We have their assigned squawk code, so we gave them 1001. We have their cruise altitude. We have their departure, arrival, and their alternate if they file any. So this guy did not file an alternate, he didn't either. This guy also did not file one. And then we have the routes, and in the bottom is where the remarks are. These 9 boxes are for yourself. I would use these for if a aircraft calls up with a certain ATIS, I might put in the ATIS they call up with in there. If an aircraft wants taxi, or I assign them a certain runway, I might put the runway I assigned them there, so I can see, okay, this guy's going to this runway. During an event, we might have special things that we would want you to fill in there, however, you will find that out in the briefing. For these boxes, no one else sees them unless you manually send them a strip. So to do that, you right click on it, push to, and then click on their name. Otherwise, these are just for you. So finally with this, your last hotkey you're going to be using is F9. So if we need to assign a squawk, we could select an aircraft. So let's select November 23194. So 23194 plus, so we see his flight strip lights up. So we can assign a squawk by doing F9 plus. And now we could see that his assigned squawk goes up there. So we assign him 1003. We could also open up his flight plan to see this by doing F6 plus. You can see his squawk is there. So finally, we're going to be disconnecting from the network, and you are now good to go with VRC. So we're going to be closing out of this, and our next profile that we use will be, our next program we use will be Audio for VATSIM. So Audio for VATSIM is how we get our audio from VRC to the pilots and back. We could toggle it by clicking this arrow. That will expand it and minimize it. But we're going to have it expanded for now. So we're going to go ahead and click on settings. And then we are going to fill out this stuff. So the VATSIM CID, your VATSIM password, your microphone and output. And then you're going to want to calibrate your mic so your voice stays somewhere around the green because you don't want to be too quiet or too loud. Next up, we're going to set your push to talk button. Mine is my left control key. And other than that, you should be done. So you're going to click apply OK. And then whenever you are logging onto the network, you're just going to click connect, and then it will let you connect. So that wraps up this video on how to get started up with VRC and Audio for VATSIM. You can now continue with your training and I look forward to seeing you on Scopes.